Hello, I'm Mrs. Yerby, a science teacher here at Excelsior Academy Middle School. Middle school is a fun time. It's a transition period where students have been learning to read and learning how to complete mathematical computations. And now they're using that ability to read, that ability to computate, to really learn at this point. And middle school science especially, it's a cool time of exploring and starting to explain the world around us. Okay, but it can be a little burdensome. Having more labs, what if we have an absence? How do I make up that lab? I hear there's a quiz or a test coming. How do I help my kiddos study? And so I want to share with you today, first of all, the Google Classroom, which is where students can access extra copies of materials like classroom packets, where they can see the completed notes or the vocabulary that could be a tool for studying, and then kind of touch on why we want to master that science vocabulary. I'm right, nobody really talks in science vocabulary in their everyday unless they are a scientist. And we're asking students to understand that vocabulary and that language so that they can master their curriculum. So what are some tips and tricks to really understanding that vocabulary? Okay, so let me minimize this and let's just start off with the Google Classroom. Hopefully you can see that on your screen. But when you go into your classes and what it's going to look like, I'm just going to go to the home here for a second. On the home screen, it's going to have every class that your student is a part of. For this, I'm going to look at 6th grade science. And when you come up, this is called the stream. You can see it's right here in the stream. And it has, for instance, my 6th graders are just starting Unit 6, so it has the objective, like what do we really want students to be able to do with what they're learning? Then it has every day what they're completing and the page number, so they can see what was assigned. Now the next part up here is classwork. This is where if you need some extra materials, if you need just a copy of the notes or the vocabulary list because you know there's a test coming up, I publish a review. I send it out to families each unit, but I also have an extra copy on this Google Classroom. So you just want to see the review, you want to see the classroom. This is what it looks like. It'll be arranged by, and everyone in the science department runs their Google Classroom very similarly. Materials used in class, if it's a video, I know teachers will even put up the videos, the packet, help pages for assignments and labs, and even data. Maybe there was data collected in a fun lab in class. Someone was gone. They can at least access the data so they can still answer questions. They can still create that graph that would be graded. So let's just start with looking for this vocabulary. Now, if I go to my Unit 6 packet first here, there is going to start off with my bell ringers. It's just going to be a PDF. Again, no information has to be completed on the Google Classroom. It can be just written on a piece of paper. Maybe you have a printer, you print it off, the student completes it and hands it in, whichever way works best for you. They can even grab another copy if they need. Always in the classroom, teachers have extra copies of packets, and use the classroom to help fill out that packet. So, for instance, on your screen, you should see like heat and energy and particle motion. Okay, so we have the list of terms, and then we have these definitions. All right, so my students are going to be learning about not only are there solid, liquid, and gas states of matter, but then when energy is added to those particles or removed, they're going to either move faster, the particles, and if energy is moved away, move slower. Okay, and so how does that energy get transferred? And that's going to be here in our types of energy: conduction, convection, radiation. So you can see as you go through, there is some information in those packets. Okay, so if you're ever saying, hey, I want to help my kiddos study, what do I need to do? You can always just read through the vocabulary. Now I want to bring up another vocabulary. This one's kind of fun. Some of my units, and some other teachers do this also, it's set up with the term on the one side of your paper, and the definition on the opposite. And so in class, one way that we study, and this is a good way to study at home, and you just need a family member or a household member that can be a partner and simply read the terms or the definitions. And what we do is we fold it and we would simply quiz each other. Okay, we do it in class. It's a great way to study at home, especially for a unit that has a lot of words. We need to understand what is distance or what is a light year, what is mass, before we can actually, in a lab or in a performance task, use that word. We kind of need to understand what it is. Okay, so that's vocabulary. Another great way is that let's go back here. And if we just close out of that, if we go back here, there's going to be help pages. So for instance, coming up, my students are going to be filling out a diagram, and it's going to list those states of matter. They're going to draw how those particles are arranged and some of the energy with them. And then they're also going to label the processes. If energy is added, if energy is added, or if energy is removed, or if energy is removed, what is that process called? So we're going to do that in some demonstrations and throughout a class period. However, if maybe they are absent, if they didn't have the packet with them and they needed to fill it out when they got home, they could always hop on the Google Classroom, and these are right there. Again, you can kind of see where having some of these completed pages is going to help them. Going down to, for instance, a fun lab that students did on mass and gravity. We ran a lab on a Friday, and then over the next couple of days we made a graph of that data and answered questions. I've gone through and completed my labs so that there is actual data. Other teachers have done this too. So if there's ever a lab and there's data that's to be collected, students have an opportunity to go in, use some, we call it canned data, and it's already done for them, and fill it out. Okay, so that's just a little bit about the Google Classroom. Vocabulary is just really important in science anyway. Like I say, we don't use those terms all the time. On Google Classroom, you'll also get completed notes. That can be helpful, those completed notes. Just they're going to be able to fill in any blanks that they have, but it's also something you at home could say, hey, pull up your Google Classroom, you've got a quiz or a test coming. I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? Like I said, I tend to, and I know other teachers tend to, send out reviews. It's just on your email. You know, you've got a commute in the morning. It's a great time to kind of step aside and study some of that vocabulary. In science, it's not just understanding the words, it's also applying it. But it's really hard to apply a term and a vocabulary word if you don't understand it. So some ways that you can really help your student is by making time, kind of prioritizing that review, those vocabulary lists, those note lists. Go through and just read through them. Even just reading through them together, it shows your student that you're committed for their understanding to science, and then it's also going to, just reading through them is going to help that student understand those terms, remember those terms, be able to see the term on a paper and not be nervous about what it means, and be able to further engage with that curriculum, not stopping because I don't get the word, so I'm not even going to try to attempt to see what I'm supposed to do with it. Am I supposed to use it in a lab? Am I supposed to use it in a computation? Am I supposed to apply it and explain it? Because they really don't understand what the word is, so they kind of freeze, okay? So you taking time to prioritize with your student that studying is a great way to help them in science, looking for those vocabulary terms, looking for those completed note pages, looking at reviews that have been sent out is a great way to really assist your student. Now, sometimes students will want to look a little further. Maybe they have some questions and you would like to further explore the science they're studying with your student. So this is a great site here. If you'd ever, you've studied, you've looked over the review, you've looked over the notes page with your student, they seem to understand what they're being asked to do. You've read the vocabulary, you quiz them, they seem to understand the vocabulary words, but maybe they have questions or they just want to further explore it. So there are some sites that can be used that are great, and one is, let's see if I can get it to come up. Let's see, I'm not sure it's going to come up for you. There we go. I got it all set up. One site, and you've probably heard this throughout the middle school because it's a useful site. It's very friendly to families just wanting to explore a topic more. It's called Khan Academy. You should be able to see that on your screen. And what you're looking for is, and then for instance, you can see I did a search here, middle moon phases, and I put middle school because that's the level of learning we're at. And you can see there's videos on the moon phases, there's the moon and its motions, you have some exercises, there's articles to read. If there's ever a topic your students just maybe struggling with and you want to encourage them to engage with the topic a little bit more, or even just that they have questions and you want to explore it as a family, it's a great way. That Khan Academy is a great tool to use. So I hope this has been helpful. The Google Classroom every student should have access to. You can access the most current packet for all your science classes. Inside that packet will have some notes pages. Teachers also link completed note pages. There will be vocabulary. That terminology is so important because students will sometimes stumble on the whole topic because they don't know the words. So we in class support them by some exercises to practice the vocabulary, and you at home setting up that time to review that vocabulary would be so helpful. It allows them to go past just struggling with the term to actually engage with that curriculum. And then if you ever want to explore further in science, Khan Academy is a great resource. There's also the planetarium in Salt Lake and the Natural History Museum also have information for science and just exploring the world around you and engaging and trying to help your student really love the subject and everything it has to offer. So thank you.